So autumn has most definitely arrived here in Wales, and it's been a little bit stormy the last week or so. But one thing that always gives me a boost at this time of year is seeing all the fly agaric mushrooms popping up. If you don't know what a fly agaric mushroom is, they're those great big red and white ones that some people call toadstools. They make you think of fairies. They seem to pop up out of nowhere overnight and you see big red splashes of colour in the bushes. So this week I wanted to make a mushroom inspired doll. If you just found me, by the way, welcome. My name's Jo. I'm a full-time artist making creepy cute things on a narrowboat in Wales. So I'm not sure how well the microphone will pick up my voice. It's really windy here today. So I came up here yesterday and I found this fly agaric mushroom just starting to pop up through the earth. So I wanted to come back up this morning and I wanted to capture these before it goes because they don't last long once they come up. They tend to get eaten by the wildlife. But there are more of them coming up. If we look just under the bushes, there's another one there and one over there. So I'm going to keep an eye on them over the next few days and see if any more come up. I chose a kind of neutral warm grey for the skin tone, keeping it quite pale to go with the red. And I thought about using some of this red metallic acrylic for the hair, which I think could work quite nicely. I really wanted to find some red ribbon with white spots, but I couldn't find anything suitable when I went to Hobbycraft last week. But we do have some black and white polka dots and I managed to find some red and white gingham, which I think I can use somewhere. I'm going to be doing some painting in acrylics on the dress as well. So it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to making this one, so let's get on with it. I've stuffed most of the pieces with some standard white polyester stuffing, but because I've made the arms from black fabric so they look like long sleeves on the dress, I'm using some black polyester staple fibre for those. I add a little bit more stuffing before I close the seams up. I want to make sure the head is stuffed really firmly so it holds its shape when I needle felt the hair. I joint the arms and legs with some antique silver effect metal beads. The neck is going to be a button joint, so that'll have a button on the top of the head and one on the back. If you'd like to know more about the jointing methods I use, I'll put a link to a video in the description. I'm leaving the arms and legs detached from the body for now, as I'm going to paint some boots on, and I also want to make the bodice of the dress before I attach the arms at the shoulders. I start by mixing a grey shade and painting that on as an undercoat to cover the stripes, and then I'll go over it with some black and then add a bit of detail. I use ordinary artist acrylic paints for the boots, but I do add a little bit of fabric medium just to help it sit better on the fabric, and it just makes it a bit more flexible. It's now Saturday morning. It's a really dark, rainy morning out there. So I'm drinking ginger tea in my new mug. How cute is that? I thought that was quite apt for this week. So yesterday I did all the jointing, apart from attaching the legs and the shoulders. So the head has been button jointed onto the body. Arms have been bead jointed and the boat is creaking. I bead jointed the knees and I also did some painting on the boots. I wanted to give them the look of aged leather, so I put a bit of grey kind of scuffing on there and some highlights here and there, and I made some laces for them in some burgundy top stitch thread. I could have gone for the bright red, but I wanted them to look a little bit more subtle, a bit more kind of old and kind of vintage. So those are done. Those will now that's all nice and dry and the paint's all set, then they can be fixed onto the body. Also, I mentioned in my last video that I needed to clean my chimney, so I did that yesterday. I get asked a lot if it's cold and damp living on a boat, and it's not usually. It's no more than it would be living in a house if it's not heated. I have the log burner over here. That takes coal and logs and it gets cleaned out in the autumn before I start using it regularly to clean out all the rust and soot and anything like wasp nests or anything like that that might have got in there over the summer. It wasn't too bad actually this year. It's been worse. I pulled out a few dead wasps and spiders and a hornet. Uh, but thankfully, there was nothing living in there this year. There has been in the past. It gets really nice and toasty warm in here when I get the fire going. The only time it feels cold is when I get up first thing in the morning, and then it can feel a bit chilly before I get the fire going again. And then once it gets going, it's lovely in here. Let me know if you'd like to see a video that's more kind of dedicated to boat life. I don't know if you're interested in that. If not, maybe I'll make a video just for members. Just want to mention, by the way, I do have memberships available if anyone's interested. I do have 2 levels on there. I've got a 99p level, so you'll get some emojis and work in progress posts. And then there's a 2.99 level. And on that level, you'll get some videos as well. This is all going to evolve, I think, over the next few months as more members start to come in and I get an idea of what people want to see. But if you'd like to support the channel and help me to keep growing, that's a great way to support me. If you don't want to join the membership, then super thanks are always appreciated. And just liking a video, sharing it with your friends and just, just sitting through a few adverts really just goes a long way towards helping me. Okay, so today I'm going to be starting on the face. She's going to have the usual button eyes and I need to attach the legs to the body and I'm going to start on the clothes. I'm not sure how far I'll get today, but we'll just crack on with it and just see how far we get. I want to create a nice dark shadow behind the button eyes, so as usual I'm using Derwent Chromaflow pencils to shade around the area. I build up the colour little by little in shades of green and purple and black, blending it from time to time with a blending pencil, so I really build up that pigment. That will need a coat of Artist Fixative Spray to make it permanent. I will put some links in the description to some of the tools and materials I use. While the fixative's drying, I take the opportunity to stitch the legs in place. These just need a little stitch at each side to hold them. I'm using top stitch thread for all the jointing on this doll. I fasten that off just at the side of the hip where it's going to be hidden underneath the bodice. Now I found some nice textured metal buttons for the eyes, but I feel like these are just a little bit dull for this doll. So I'm using some white acrylic paint and just dabbing it on to bring out the design on them a little bit more. I'll wipe most of the paint off the surface, just leaving it in the design. I've never noticed this before on these buttons, but now I'm looking at them closely. The pattern on them actually looks like tiny little mushrooms, which I think is quite fitting for this doll. I've added some detail to the face in black fine liner pens, and I'm just adding a little bit of shading underneath the mouth with some Chromaflow pencils again. I'm really liking how those buttons are looking against the shading. I've made a simple bodice from black cotton. I might add a little bit of trim around the top, but I don't want to do too much to it yet. I'm going to add a design to the front of it, so I'm keeping it pretty plain. The arms are attached by those beads at the top, with a thread that goes right through the body from shoulder to shoulder and through each bead a couple of times. Then I fasten that off at the back of the doll underneath the dress. It's now Sunday morning. It was quite a stormy night last night. Generally, storms don't bother me. I quite like being rocked to sleep on the boat with the wind and the rain. What did keep me awake, though, was the noise of acorns falling from the trees onto the roof of the boat. They're so loud. Anyway, I'm going to hopefully get this doll finished today. Finished the dress yesterday, and I made her a little petticoat from some lovely red lace, which it just kind of peeks through underneath, and I just think it adds a little bit of depth and a little bit of fullness to the skirt. So liking how that's going. So this morning I'm going to get the acrylics out and I'm going to paint a cute mushroom design on front of the dress, and then I'm going to do the hair. I've got some metallic acrylic yarn for the hair. This is from Signet's Seriously Chunky Metallics range. This is really nice. It's a lovely, rich, warm red. It's lovely and vibrant, and it looks really nice when it's unraveled for doll hair. And the other thing I like about this is the fibres are nice and long, so you can get some nice long hairstyles with it. So I'm going to needle felt that. I haven't decided yet what kind of style I'm going to do for the hair. I'm just going to play it by ear and just see how we go. For the mushroom design on the dress, I start with a white base coat. That's just titanium white with a bit of fabric medium added to it. I outline the whole design with white first, then I'll fix that with a hairdryer before adding colour over the top. That way we can get some nice vibrant colours onto the black dress. I kind of lose track of time when I'm painting. Once I start adding colour and detail, the hours fly by and I'm totally engrossed in it. I really love this part of the process. I did go back out and find some more fly agaric, so make sure you watch to the end to see those. Now I just need to needle felt the hair. As usual, I'm using the Clover pen style tool and 38 gauge triangular needles. I start at the back with a row just below those stitches, and then I'm going to work around those really carefully so I don't break any needles. I keep adding layer upon layer of the yarn until I've covered the whole of the scalp area. Then I'll start arranging it a bit more on top. Once I've got all the yarn needle felted in place, I can unravel it all and then I'll need to brush it all out. This yarn does take quite a bit of brushing out, but all the fibres that come out of it I will save and I can use those for another needle felting project later. I decided to sweep the front of the hair to the side a little bit and give her a little hair slide. So I'm needle felting that just at the side there, so it's nice and secure and it keeps that front part nice and flat. I've named this little one Ethony Toadstool. If you've made it this far into the video, leave me some mushroom emojis in the comments. Can't get a good view of them because they're right in the brambles, but those are huge and there's quite a big patch of them. Ethony has already found a home, but I do have a few other dolls available, so have a look at the links below to see what's there.